You mentioned his game against Texas A&M. Texas A&M got their start yesterday. Jimbo Fisher, year 6. Bobby Petrino, offensive coordinator, 52-10, the win there. Connor Wegman, 5 touchdown passes. At least for a night. Everything was smiles. Everything was cakes and pies. Wegman looked the part, command of the offense. I even thought Max Johnson at his limited time in there looked pretty good. And I say this because last year we all are aware of what happened against Appalachian State. They couldn't get them out of the way. They couldn't even beat them. But Texas A&M did what they had to do in a season opener, Paul, which is take an inferior opponent, grab them by the horse collar, get them out of their stadium with a big win.
And you're already hearing fans say, I saw the difference between Jimbo Fisher plays and Bobby Petrino plays. Listen, I mean, maybe Dan sitting there watching last night can tell I'm not sophisticated enough, but it did look a lot better. And I think another program needed confidence because, I mean, they have a game this week that most are going to predict them to win.
Yeah.
But the other side is starving too. So you do need a little confidence. But Matt, I warn everyone, don't ever read too much into that first game.
Yeah, and I don't know. Look, Miami won impressively. They beat an inferior opponent as well, which, by the way, talking to Mario Cristobal, he'll tell you the biggest problem year one is that we would take these teams and mess around with them that didn't belong in our field, and sometimes they would beat us, and sometimes they would hang around too long. So they did what they had to do in their game. But I agree. I think week 2 with these two teams meeting up, that you hit it on it perfectly. They are starving for a breakthrough. I find week 2 to be fascinating. We'll get to it next week, but you're right. Week 1, Miami took care of business. Texas A&M took care of business. Put them together on the field and see what everybody's got. Now, I want to move over to the Big Ten because there's a couple of things I want to get to. Let's start with the absolute embarrassment that's Michigan acting like Jim Harbaugh died. Can we stop with the moment of the I formations, the 4s up in the air? Look, 3-game suspension for allegedly fibbing to the NCAA. Let's quit acting like the guy's in a hospital waiting to break out and coach.
Yeah, and this isn't a case where the NCAA forbid a star for North Carolina or LSU from playing in a game. This was agreed upon. This was self-imposed. So I mean, Michigan fans, I realize you live in a different world up there in southern Canada. But the point being, talk to your athletic director, talk to your president. Those are the cats that came up with that idea.
The free Jim Harbaugh shirt that McCarthy was wearing, like, they had fun with it, he and Blake Corum in the postgame press conference, but it was almost getting funny. It was like we were doing a fundraiser for Harbaugh that you just didn't know that he was okay. It's like, man, the guy's sitting at home watching the game. We're good. Now, Michigan was also.
I think that's not a bad. It may not be a bad idea in the future just to leave Jim Harbaugh home on Saturday.
Just let him text message his coaching tidbits from the sidelines. But they got the win yesterday. We're not surprised by that. JJ McCarthy looked good. Blake Corum looked good. Roman Wilson looked good. We've said it at length here on this show. Michigan coming into the season, not too many question marks, which is why they're one of the teams we're looking at as a college football playoff contender out of the Big Ten. But we thought that too about Ohio State. And that was a team on Saturday. They elected to start Kyle McCord. And I sit there with Galloway. I have so for 5-6 years. You want to talk about a team that's loaded with 5-star talent, NFL talent. They just couldn't get it going against Indiana.
No, that reminded me of some of their games last year. I think it was the Northwestern game, another game. They just literally are zoned out, and I can't explain it. That should have been a game that you pretty fired up to play, a road game to a Big Ten, a semi-Big Ten opponent on the first Saturday of the year, but they didn't. They were a no-show, even though they got a win.
Yeah, Kyle, we'll see what he does there. Devin Brown, Kyle McCord, the quarterbacks that are vying for that job, and in the stats, I think the 2 stars. I want to say Marvin Harrison Jr. only had 2 catches for less than 20 yards. Emeka Egbuka had 3 catches for 20-something yards. Paul, you and I both know, having not played college football, but we can tell you have star receivers that aren't getting the ball. Star receivers aren't one to just kind of sit down and let that happen.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.